Do you know how to safeguard the most important part of your body, the brain? There is a section of the brain that is identified as the center for worship. You will see why the battle of good versus evil takes place in this area of your brain. There are biblical warnings and scientific ways to protect this vital decision-making center. I'm going to share them with you today. Hi, if this is your first time here on my channel, I'm Cami, and welcome to Unlocking Bible Prophecies. Consider subscribing now and also click the notification bell so you won't miss any of my new videos. I just love today's topic. When I understood its importance, it changed many things in my life. The most critical part of the brain is situated directly behind your forehead. This crucial piece of real estate is called the frontal lobe. Bible prophecy repeatedly warns us of the importance of this section of our brain. Why? It is interesting that in the book of Revelation, the enemy of God, the beast, seeks to place a mark on everyone's foreheads, whereas God's children are sealed with His name in their foreheads. The Bible makes it obvious that we need to protect this area and make wise choices, and in doing so, avoid the mark of the beast. See, this doesn't have to be scary when we know more about it. So what is the big deal about this brain matter behind our foreheads? Our frontal lobe is critical for our character development and is the highest control center of the brain. The government of God is not founded upon blind submission, as Satan would like you to think. No, God gave us free will and appeals to our intellect. In Isaiah 1:18, He says to us, "Come now and let us reason together." The frontal lobe region is responsible for moral reasoning, critical and creative thinking, planning for the future, decision-making, impulse control, and the will. Essentially, the frontal lobe houses our very character. It's who we are. Science began to first understand the importance of the frontal lobe with the life events of Phineas Gage. In 1848, he was a hard-working foreman of a railroad crew and was well liked by his coworkers and neighbors. Phineas held close his religious values and taught a weekly Sunday school class. But then came that fateful day of September 13. Phineas left his home that morning as a faithful husband, a dutiful father, never to return the same. What happened that day at work changed him forever. He was in charge of blasting away portions of the Vermont mountains with explosive gunpowder. He was packing this powder in a hole with an iron rod, and unfortunately, someone forgot to put the sand in the hole over the powder, and suddenly there were sparks and then a powerful blast. The 13-pound tamping bar, over 1 inch thick and 3 feet long, shot like a missile through Gage's head. It entered his left cheekbone and went through his brain and then out the top of his head. Amazingly, he survived, and within minutes was walking around. He was hospitalized and released a few weeks later. Unfortunately, he was no longer the same man. He started to smoke, drink, curse, as if his ethical filters had been turned off. And now any woman that appeared desirable to him, he pursued. His marriage was no longer sacred to him. Instead, he ridiculed morality and churchgoers, anything spiritual or religious. Since the accident, he was easily irritated, irresponsible, irrational, and irreverent. He lost his job as foreman because of his incredible temper and lack of ability to plan ahead. He left his family to join a circus act, showcasing his shocking appearance, along with his infamous tamping bar. He later died in Chile from unrelated causes. And in 1867, his skull and the original rod that pierced it were exhumed. Both became part of the exhibition at the Harvard Medical School Museum in Boston, where it remains today. His traumatic accident cost him his personality, his moral standards, and his commitment to loved ones. Secular researchers concluded and documented that he had lost an important part of his brain: his moral reasoning, judgment, social behavior, and most of all, spirituality. Even secular neurology textbooks recognize the frontal lobe as a spiritual part of the brain. This truly is where worship occurs. No wonder Satan is battling to control this center. It is curious to know that the frontal lobe develops slowly in children, amps up its growth during the teenage years, but does not fully mature until around age 30. It is easiest to see a child's frontal lobe development by how long they are capable of planning for the future. For example, a small child on a family road trip may continuously ask, "Are we there yet?" And then 5 minutes later, "Are we there yet?" A child is not able to see into the distant future, whereas a teenager is able to plan and look forward to next spring break. Now, because this is a center for worship, God communicates with us here. So of course, this is the devil's target. He wants to be the center of your worship and block God from you. How does the devil interfere with God's communication to our frontal lobes? Many addictions impair frontal lobe function. Here are 7 examples that come to mind. Alcohol use interferes with your dopamine production and can decrease activity level in your frontal lobe. Nicotine from smoking constricts blood flow to your brain. Drug use impairs cognitive function. High levels of sugar intake result in deficits in memory and attention. Same with pornography use, entertainment TV, media, and screen addiction such as video games can also suppress frontal lobe functioning, stunting its growth and reducing your gray matter. 1 Peter 1:13, we are warned to prepare our minds for action and exercise self-control. It reads, "Therefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and rest your hope fully upon the grace that is to be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ." He is telling us to keep our brains as sharp as they can to be abstinent from anything that will dull our brains and impair our thinking. Friends, especially in these difficult times, we need to be vigilant. 2 books I highly recommend for further study on today's topic are Dr. Neil Nedley's The Lost Art of Thinking and E.G. White's The Ministry of Healing. Okay, so here's 8 natural remedies that are emphasized in the Bible on how to achieve optimum frontal lobe functioning. The best part is that they are all free. Let's take a closer look at our habits to see if we can upgrade our lifestyles in a balanced way. Number 1, nutrition. Choose to nourish your brain with nutrient-rich foods that enhance your cognitive function. What you put into your body affects your brain's output. Daily include foods of many colors: the greens, the reds, the yellows, the purples. A liberal supply of fruits, nuts, vegetables, and grains provides the best nourishment for your frontal lobe. Foods high in sugar and saturated fat impede your brain function. Dr. Nedley's book states that it typically takes up to 14 days for the results of a healthier diet to be noticed. Improvement will continue and peak at about 3 to 6 months. Something as simple as eating a more plant-based, less processed diet makes energy more available to the brain and can improve every aspect of willpower and decision-making. Number 2, exercise. Physical activity improves mental focus. Exercise not only benefits your brain health, it can also improve your memory. In the long run, it can even protect your brain against degeneration. It is suggested that working with your hands 2 hours a day shows enhancement of the frontal lobe. So add in some gardening, crocheting, woodworking to your life. Number 3, water. Hydrate yourself. The use of water is therapeutic to your body. Drinking enough fresh water every day is an effective way to improve your thinking ability. Now, how do you calculate how much water your body specifically needs? Simple guideline is to take your weight in pounds, divide it in half, and that's how many ounces of water you should drink each day. So let's say you are 200 pounds. Half of that is 100. So 100 ounces, or 12.5 cups of water, will improve your endurance, energy, and ability to think with clarity and precision. Number 4, sunshine. Getting enough sunlight is good for your brain. Higher levels of vitamin D will allow you to perform better and can even slow down aging. Dr. Nedley shares that bright light therapy plays an important role in brain function, from alleviating symptoms of depression to balancing circadian rhythms. And in order to achieve peak mental performance, we really need to be exposed to daylight for at least 30 minutes a day. Our brains can't make enough serotonin without bright light, and we need that light through the eyes as well as our skin. Number 5, temperance. Now, what does this word mean? It is abstaining from the harmful and using the healthful in moderation. Aristotle's famous words regarding temperance, quote, "For both excessive and insufficient exercise destroy one's strength, and both eating and drinking too much or too little destroy health, whereas the right quantity produces, increases, and preserves it." In other words, balance is key, friends. Number 6, air. Supply your brain with good oxygen. We need good air cycling through our homes and offices. Deep breathing is also important. Dr. Nedley states fresh air actually vitalizes the blood. It relaxes the mind, kills germs, helps clean the lungs, and boosts the immune system. And number 7, rest. Adequate sleep is required to consolidate memory and learning. If you don't get enough sleep, your gray matter volume in your frontal lobe actually begins to decrease. Sleep deprivation is a major factor in poor decision making and decreased mood. In short, if you don't get enough sleep, you'll have less brain in your head. And if you're wondering how much sleep is enough, Dr. Nedley says that while the average individual needs 7 or 8 hours of sleep per night, some need as many as 9 hours of sleep. Number 8, lastly, and most importantly, trust in God. This is the key to a longer, happier life. You want to live 7 years longer? Well, according to Reader's Digest, they reported in a nationwide study of 21,000 people that those who prayed and attended religious services more than once a week had a 7-year longer life expectancy than those who never attended services at all. National Geographic magazine in November 2005 reported that Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California have been scientifically documented as the longest living group in the United States. Their unique longevity has been attributed to 2 principal causes. First, most Adventists eat a plant-based vegetarian diet as outlined in Genesis 1:29. And surprisingly, the second main cause given for their longevity and health was their regular practice of rest, worship, and fellowship every 7th day, which is also found in Genesis 2, verses 2 and 3. An easy way to remember these 8 key ways is to use the acronym New Start. Nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, and trust in God. So friends, do you want to be more intelligent, make better decisions, have greater capacity to empathize with others, have a greater ability to overcome addictions, but most importantly, have a greater power to do the will of God? Because in these troubling days, filled with chaos and uncertainty, we need to guard our minds so that we can hear the voice of God speaking to the worship center of our brains. God is guiding us to follow His truth to keep us safe from accepting the mark of the beast. And I will be addressing the mark of the beast from the Bible in a future presentation. Let's remember that Satan's attack is on the mind, because as we have seen, it is where we worship our God. Are you concerned that you need to enhance your frontal lobe? Let me leave you with this thought by Richard Bach. Quote, "A tiny change today brings a dramatically different tomorrow." Friend, which one of these 8 brain optimizers are you going to put into practice this week? Share it with me in the comments below. And if you found this information helpful, consider liking this video. Please be sure to subscribe and watch last week's video where I show you how to trust God in the middle of chaos. Friend, choose God's way. Till next time.